Good morning, everyone. I'm Aunt Kara, but this video is not for kids. This is another edition of book reviews for grown-ups who love fairy tales. Today we're going to be talking about Powerless by Lauren Roberts. And this book is in the romantasy genre. However, it is not a spicy romantasy book. So in that way, it would make for a good entry book for someone into the romantasy genre, maybe someone who's a little bit younger, not quite ready for the really sorry, my dog is shaking my camera. The really smutty scenes, kind of spicy scenes that you get in other romantasy series. So this book follows the main character, Peyton, and kind of her love triangle happening with brothers Kit and Kai. And Kit and Kai are princes to royalty, to the king. And this is a world in which most people are born with special powers and abilities, and some people are born without. And in this world, being born without power, being born powerless, as the title says, it's pretty much a death sentence. And Kit is the firstborn prince, so he is in line to be king. And Kai has a unique ability where he can channel the abilities of people around him and sense the abilities of people around him, and as such it makes him the title is Enforcer, to hunt out people who are born without power and banish them or kill them. So of course, in true romantasy fashion, Peyton and Kai fall in love. And it's kind of it's not quite enemies to lovers like ish, like they're not truly mortal enemies, more in terms of the concepts and the roles that they play in the world. But it's kind of an interesting world to dive into. I will say that this was not my favorite romantasy book. I'd probably put it at about a 3.5 out of 5. It was a fun place to be, but I don't feel that it did anything, super groundbreaking or super captivating. I really didn't start fully enjoying this book until about 60% of the way through, and I feel like if I were to rate a book higher than that, it would need to kind of captivate me earlier on. If I'm just going by the last 40% or so of the book, I'd probably rate it a 4, 4.5 even, but the first half I kept falling asleep, to be honest. So it's a good quick read, and it's good to kind of get into it. And the romance is kind of nice and fairy tale-y, and there's some really good banter back and forth, but it's definitely not on my top list. I don't know if I'll be continuing the series. We will see. But anyway, Peyton and Kai kind of have this budding romance, and Kit also really admires her and loves her. But she's more into Kai for sure. So Peyton, while being born powerless, has been taught to kind of tell everyone that she's psychic and that that's her power, where really she was just trained from a very young age to be incredibly observant and notice small cues, like kind of the way modern show psychics in illusionists and stuff will operate, where there's a definite skill and talent involved, but it's not quite what it portrays itself to be. So Peyton is taken up in kind of this Hunger Games-esque trial that happens, and it's big show, televised. They put them through all these really interesting sort of challenges, and it's a very brutal society. But that being said, the trials themselves don't really stick out in my memory so much. It was enjoyable in the moment, but it's not, definitely not my favorite. So I will read you guys a few little bits from it, just so you can get a sense. The highlight for me definitely was the relationship between Peyton and Kai, and they have a lot of cool banter, and he calls her darling and all that sort of stuff. So that's kind of what I'm going to be focusing on. All right, what is it you're dying to know? Kai asks, leading me through the dance. I have no idea. He looks at me, through me, waiting for an answer. His gray eyes are like chips of ice, shards of glass. Like both, his gaze is pointed and piercing, cold yet captivating, beautiful in the way only deadly things can be. And just like that, I suddenly can't think of a single thing I want to ask him. I rack my brain for a question only to blurt out the first thing that comes to mind. Do you wish it was you? He blinks, dark lashes fluttering. Do you wish you were the future king of Ilya, the heir? It's not at all the question I thought I would be asking, but here we are. No, he says simply, holding my gaze. I raise my brows in a silent question. When he doesn't continue, I say, that's it? No? You got your answer, and I got my dance. That was the deal, darling. So I am a sucker for a little bit of a cocky personality in a man, and I think that's kind of the redeeming factor for me in this book is kind of Kai's little attitude and the back and forth he has with Peyton. All right, here's another little section. I turn my head to find Kit standing behind my chair before my eyes slide to her, shimmering beside him. She is every bit the silver savior. Shining silver fabric clings to her body, thin straps wrap over her shoulders, holding up the dress with its plunging neckline, revealing her tanned skin and sharp collarbones. It melds to her waist and hips like melted coins, reminding me of the one she stole when we first met. Peyton's kohl-line lashes sweep over me as I take her in. Her hair is like a curtain covering her dress, making it difficult to tell where the silver strands end and the shiny dress begins. Fabric fans out around her ankles, displaying a large slit sliding up the length of her leg, mirroring the one I tore in her dress that day of the interviews. And there, strapped to her thigh, is the silver dagger for all to see. I fight my smile at the sight of her deadly weapon paired with her dazzling attire. So lovely, yet so lethal. Kai is also kind of a conflicted character. He has been forced into being this kind of deadly monster type person within the kingdom that everyone fears, but he never really wanted to be that way, and his father really forced him into very brutalized types of training that were extremely abusive and traumatizing, as you can imagine. So kind of the character journey, her seeing what the world knows him as and then kind of unraveling what lies underneath. It is entertaining as well. All right, one last section. He leans closer, eyes brimming with barely bottled up emotions. And I'll save your life again and again, aimlessly hoping you will allow me to stay in it. We stare at each other. Those pretty words of his have my heart pounding, brain puzzling over possible meanings. The tension between us is tangible, taking my breath away as he takes me in. I'm grasping for something, anything to say, but I'm too busy staring to think straight. And then a quiet question slips past my lips, snapping the tension between us. How are you so calm after all this? I know the answer, and yet I find myself wanting to hear it from his own lips. I didn't always used to be like this, he says softly, but practice makes perfect, and I've had a lot of it. All right, so that's all I'm going to leave you with. As I said, this is a romantic book. It is not a smutty book. It would make a really great entry point into the romantic genre. I'd say it even somewhat borders on young adult, because it alludes to sexy, spicy stuff, but it never actually goes there. It's very kind of closed-door romance, and even the moment when, you know, Kai and Peyton have that chance, there's just, you know, tenderness and hugging and things like that. So that's kind of a neat kind of change to see, but it didn't captivate me until fairly late in the book, so not my favorite, and I hope that you enjoy it more than I did. As always, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, to like it and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Ta-ta for now.